There's a well-known proverb that says, when you have your health, you can have 1,000 wishes. But when you don't, one. When you're healthy, you can chase the next job promotion. You can chase the bigger house and all the things. You can push and work harder and harder because you assume that your health is going to come along with you. But when you're not healthy, often we're forced to focus on only one thing, and that's getting back to our health. But you see, nobody thinks it's going to happen to them until it does. I certainly didn't. I've got this. I've always got this. I've always had this in the past. I've always been able to push through, so why would this time be any different? And so I ignored the pain in my stomach during a time when I was caring for my family, thinking, it's probably just an ulcer, I'll go to bed. It wasn't an ulcer. It was my appendix. It had gotten so bad beyond septic that it almost cost me my life. I had pushed so hard that it almost cost me everything. So why was I pushing so hard? And why could I not back off? Well, you see, I was trying to be the hero husband for my family. I was trying to be the hero father for my family and the hero worker. Because only a couple of weeks earlier, during the height of COVID, my wife and I decided to take our 3-year-old and our 5-year-old skating. We were out having a great time until my wife fell and broke both of her wrists. Now imagine what you do with one hand at any point in time, day or night. And now imagine that not only can you not do it, but you also need help doing it. And so I guess I'm on duty, right? And so I was pushing and trying to help that I neglected my own needs. You see, in an instant, our family went from thriving to barely surviving. And work-life balance out the window. There's a stat from Benefits Canada in 2023 that shows that 35% of our workforce is currently burnt out. And according to the Mental Health Commission of Canada, over 500,000 people each week miss work due to mental health concerns. That is more than the entire population of Oshawa, where we are today. And while that number is staggering, what's even more challenging to think about is while those people are off receiving the care, the attention, and the treatment that they need to be able to come back to the workplace in a sustainable way, think about all of the other people who are in the workplace at that point, picking up for all those situations and trying to carry the work forward and trying to continue the work, that they're burning out. And we end up in this vicious cycle where when one person comes back ready to re-enter the workforce, tag, you're it, I need to go off now on mental health leave. What we are doing isn't working, and we need to find a new way forward. Consider work-life balance. The idea you often see is a scale, work and life. And they're meant to balance at 50-50, right? Easy. But I think that work and life are so complex these days with so much going on that I don't think it's actually possible for work and life to balance in that way. And not only that, I don't believe they're meant to be in competition with each other. Think about it. You start chasing this idea of work-life balance, and the first week you work too hard, and now you feel owed. And so the next week you're chasing it and you're trying to catch up, and you're frustrated because you didn't get it. And each week that you end up out of balance in one way or the other, you feel frustrated, disillusioned, and eventually hopeless to the point where you just quit because it's not possible to figure out work-life balance. I think it's time that we let go of work-life balance. Because imagine, instead of a reactive state where we're constantly chasing work-life balance, imagine a proactive approach where we had room for complexity, where our life and our work aligned together. I believe the way forward is work-life coherence. Coherence, by definition, means that it fits together and it makes sense. And so, work-life coherence means that your work and your life fit together and make sense. It's not about 50-50. It's not about even. It's not about one versus the other. It's about an alignment and a connection where one supports the other, where your work supports your life and your life supports the choices in work so that you can work together. And that's different for each of us at each stage in our lives, and it will change. So it's not about balancing it. It's about acknowledging the stage of life that we are at, what happens in that life, and creating the conditions for us to have the flexibility to do that. Remember when you were a child and you were on the playground? Think back to the seesaw, the teeter-totter. It's meant to go up and down, up and down. I have never once in my life seen children on the seesaw at 50-50 saying, "This is amazing, the best experience of my life." It's not designed for that. It's not intended to be that. Remember when you got on the seesaw with someone who was bigger than you? And you get on and they get on and you rocket to the top and you can't get down. It's not designed for that either. But how many of us are living our lives in this state? The reality is our lives are supposed to shift and adjust and move in ways so that it can create a coherent sense where it fits together and makes sense. We need to let the burden off of ourselves around work-life balance. So how do we do that? It sounds great, but how do we actually accomplish this? The first, I think we need to embrace a coherent flow. When we embrace the idea that I don't have to meet it at 50-50, but that some weeks I'm going to have to work more, and at other times in my life I'm going to have to put work aside so I can focus on my home life. And that's allowed to shift as the stages of my life change, and the stages of my colleagues are different, and so it's also got to change in that way. We can let the burden off of our shoulders by embracing the coherent flow. We also need to create room for complexity. Listen, there is one of me. There's my work life, there's my home life, and there's my health. And if I keep putting more and more on my work and on my home buffet plates, the only place that it can come from is my health. We need to create room for complexity because, make no mistake, it's coming whether we like it or not. Hopefully, for you, not with 2 broken wrists and an appendicitis situation, but we all have our situations and our complexities in our life that we need to find room for. And we're living our lives so to capacity that even the smallest shift can sometimes take us out of that space. We need to create room for that to happen. We do that by living our life with intention over default. How often do we roll through a day just from meeting to meeting, thing to thing, chasing our kids to their activities and chasing all the different things in our lives? But then you hit the pillow at the end of the night and you're wondering why. How did that happen? We need to live with intention over default, and we need to create the relationships in advance that network to support ourselves so that when we need help, it's there for us, just like I had for myself. So, there's a well-known saying that I really love. Don't wait till you're thirsty to dig your well. Don't wait until you're burnt out, exhausted, and stressed to start taking care of yourself. Instead, I invite you today to shift your mindset, let go of work-life balance, the model that's outdated and doesn't work, and instead create a proactive and intentional mindset around work-life coherence.